So a Democrat judge in Wisconsin was arrested by the FBI for harboring an illegal alien and also obstructing ICE, which is leading to a full-blown meltdown by the Democrats who claim that they're for the rule of law and nobody is above the law, except for when it applies to them, then it's automatically some sort of constitutional crisis. Also, AOC and Bernie Sanders are exposed for renting private planes to fly across the country on their Fight the Oligarchy tour. And finally, failed CNN anchor Don Lemon says possibly the dumbest thing you've ever heard. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel. By the way, Mickey says thank you for all your kind comments. She was absolutely ecstatic. But let's listen to what happened with this Milwaukee judge today.
They detail this. We just got these court charges that were unsealed. Basically, on April 18th, they say that Judge Dugan had an undocumented immigrant set to appear before her in court, and they allege that she helped facilitate him evading ICE officers who were present and ready to arrest him at that court. They say that they were actually able to later arrest him on the street, that he fled them. But now they are bringing those charges, saying that they're formally accusing this judge of trying to help this undocumented immigrant who was charged facing state charges of assault and battery and was appearing before her at that time on April 18th. So obviously, we're going to watch the developments. This is going to be a very contentious and closely watched case as we see this administration really take head on this idea that they say that state officials are seeking to obstruct their federal efforts to crack down on illegal immigration.
The Democrat urge to defend and protect these criminal aliens is just perplexing to me. So apparently this judge was frustrated that ICE was at the courthouse to arrest this guy, and she, in the middle of his hearing, brought him into the back, into her chambers, and helped him escape through the back door to avoid getting arrested. This is just another example of many that these judges are simply activists. If this judge had any consideration for the rule of law, as her job entails, she wouldn't let her feelings get involved and make some sort of political stance by trying to let this criminal illegal alien get away. And this all comes after a New Mexico judge was caught harboring a Tren de Aragua Venezuelan gangbanger in his own home. The judiciary is completely compromised. I made a video on that judge the other day, but if you didn't see it here, we'll watch a quick clip about this particular judge. This is also insane.
So the former judge, Joel Cano, and his wife, Nancy, each face charges of evidence tampering for allegedly harboring this man, Christian Ortega Lopez, an illegal immigrant and alleged Tren de Aragua gang member. Despite the couple's arrest this week, the controversy began in late February when Homeland Security investigations arrested 3 Venezuelan nationals, including Ortega Lopez, during a raid on the judge's property in New Mexico. Cano then resigned as a magistrate judge in March, and earlier this week, though, the Supreme Court of New Mexico permanently banned him from ever serving as a judge again.
So if these judges are blatantly defying federal law, taking it upon themselves to engage in self-righteous activism because they don't like Donald Trump, why shouldn't we believe these same federal judges that keep instituting bans on Trump's agenda are also engaging in biased activism? If you let these federal judges tell it, I have no idea what the president really even does, because according to them, he's not allowed to carry out his duty in enforcing the laws of this country. So when the laws say no discrimination based on immutable characteristics, and Trump says, all right, we're going to end all of these radical woke DEI policies that are in clear violation of the Civil Rights Act. And then these judges block it and they say, no, you can't do that. And then when the law says public institutions such as Harvard can't receive federal funds if they're in violation of federal law, like the Civil Rights Act. And Trump says, okay, we're going to withhold federal funding because Harvard and other universities are engaging in allowing an environment of anti-Semitism and discrimination against Jewish students to exist. And the judges block that and they say, no. The president, who's also the commander-in-chief, says we're going to get the military back to being about high standards, lethality, and nothing else. So they remove service members who are transgender that require constant hormones and upkeep and medicine, all to maintain themselves because they've destroyed their body through monstrous surgeries. And the judge blocks that too, and they say, no, you can't do that. But here's Pam Bondi talking about this Milwaukee judge, again, just detailing how what she did was a clear violation of the law.
And to set the stage for you and Sandra, this was truly horrific. This guy was in court being prosecuted by a state prosecutor for domestic violence battery. He had beat up two people, a guy and a girl, hit the guy 30 times, knocked him to the ground, choked him, beat up a woman so badly they both had to go to the hospital. And John, you know, it's so rare for victims to want to cooperate. They wanted to cooperate. They were sitting in the courtroom with the state prosecutor. The judge learns that ICE was outside to get the guy because he had been deported in 2013, came back in our country, commits these crimes, charged with committing these crimes, victims in court. Judge finds out. She goes out in the hallway, screams at the immigration officers. She's furious, visibly shaken, upset, sends them off to talk to the chief judge. She comes back in the courtroom. You're not going to believe this. Takes the defendant and the defense attorney back in her chambers, takes them out a private exit and tells them to leave. While a state prosecutor and victims of domestic violence are sitting in the courtroom.
Again, this is so hypocritical because Democrats want to claim that they're for deporting all of the violent, criminal illegal aliens, but this guy is literally a domestic violence abuser. Yet they're trying to help him avoid getting caught and deported. Now, Democrats on X have been losing their mind, and I'm going to show you a couple of these posts because they're absolutely mind-boggling. This one person says Hitler arrested a bunch of judges in his first year too, by the way. So they're reverting to their old, tired trope of Donald Trump is Hitler, Donald Trump is a Nazi, equating deportations of illegals who broke into our country, many of who are just like this guy, have committed violent crimes while being here, to Hitler sending the Jews to concentration camps. And when judges openly and blatantly break the law, they think that the rule of law being applied to them is an act of fascism. They can't conceive for a second in their tiny Democrat brain that Democrats breaking the law is also a crime. That's why they're always in defense of people firebombing Tesla dealerships, because they're so self-obsessed and convinced that their worldview is the morally righteous one. So any kind of political violence, or in this case, obstructing law enforcement, is totally justified. Another post from the Lincoln Project says, this happens in North Korea, Russia, and now it's happening here. MAGA is not American. Again, these people will willingly obscure reality in order to justify their own worldview. They don't care about the details or the specifics. They just see judge arrested and assume that it's automatically bad in some sort of tyrannical overstep. Another post says, I mean, this is just textbook fascism. No, this is textbook following the law. Because they hate Donald Trump so much, and they see these rogue activist judges overstepping, issuing unconstitutional orders, they're just happy to see anything that slows down the orange man's agenda. They don't care if it's legal or not. They don't care if it's unconstitutional or not. Another post says, this is how the mafia operates. They are trying to intimidate judges and bully them into supporting their brazenly unconstitutional deportation regime by making an example out of her. Ah, so he's the mafia now. And second off, how is this some unconstitutional deportation regime? I mean, all they're doing is admitting the quiet part out loud. They don't want these illegals to be deported. And if you're so confused as to why, let me remind you. This post reads, the reason Democrat judges are fighting so hard to keep illegals, even the criminal aliens, is all about control of the House. If illegals were removed or not counted for the apportionment, Democrats would lose 10 seats in the House, giving the GOP a 27-seat advantage. It's what we've all known. Their ultimate goal is to make all of these illegals eligible to vote because it's obvious that they're going to vote for the Democrats who allowed them to flood into the United States and gave them free benefits, as opposed to the Republicans who want to deport them. But the worst case scenario of their plan is that these illegals massively boost Democrat presence in the census, leading to more seats in the House, leading to more votes in the Electoral College. The Democrats are risking American society all at the expense of a power grab. That's why it's inconceivable that a judge would block Donald Trump from trying to make sure that only citizens can vote in our national elections. But now on to some more funny news. Bernie and AOC have been going on their Fight the Oligarchy tour across America, traveling from state to state, telling people the dangers of these bad billionaires. Well, they've actually been exposed for renting private jets that cost between $15,000 and $30,000 per flight in order to travel for their tour. Here's a video of them getting off of their private plane. It's funny because many of you have pointed out in the comments that Bernie used to be against the millionaires and billionaires, but now that he's a multimillionaire with, 3 or 4 lake house properties, he's now only against the bad billionaires. And while they're trying to make their pitch to the working class about why the wealthy are the true enemies, they're just jet setting around America in their private plane. How relatable is that to the American people? These people could have just got some first class tickets, but instead they chose to use the most exclusive and expensive form of travel that most Americans associate with only the super, super rich, while going on their grand national tour about how rich people are bad and these people are fighting for you, the working class. It's the same communist grift over and over. They claim that they're for the working class, then they get into power, then they siphon all of the resources and the wealth from the country. Oh, and guess who's now in control of it and gets to use it at their will? Now, in another example of absolute Democrat stupidity, failed CNN hosts Don Lemon and Jim Acosta were on their embarrassing podcast together talking about how they're actually trustworthy now because they're reporting the news from a YouTube channel as opposed to the CNN news desk. Take a look.
But I think it's another nail, especially in the confidence that people have in corporate media, the trust that they have in corporate media. And I think that is why folks like you, over here on Substack, doing extremely well. I'm doing okay on Substack. Also
You're doing
on
great.
YouTube, doing
Watch
well.
Don on Substack.
Yeah.
Watch Don on YouTube.
Yeah. And so I think that's why we're having such success. And they don't care if you're on the North Lawn and the South Lawn of the White House with pancake makeup on and all the lights and the shiny desks. They want people they like, they trust, and they care about. And I think that's figures like us. People can trust that I'm going to tell them the truth. I'm also not going to bombard them with frivolous stuff. I'm not going to have false equivalency on my show. I'm just not going to do it. And I think people like that.
I mean, in what world do these people think that they're actually trustworthy? Do they think that just because they switched platforms to the internet, the American people have forgotten the lies that they've perpetuated over the years? People don't trust you because you're liars and you're propagandists. It doesn't matter whether you lie on national TV or you lie on your podcast. It just truly shows how out of touch these people are. We don't distrust the corporate media simply because it's corporate. We distrust the corporate media because they have no interest in reporting the truth. They have a political narrative that they want to push. They'll manipulate, misconstrue, outright fabricate stories just to try to support a particular faction. It's always funny seeing irrelevant news hosts try to transition onto the internet platform and not be able to find any level of success because all of the bad habits that they got from working for a propagandist news outlet, they can't shake or get rid of. But yet they think, oh, I'm on the internet now, so I'm trustworthy. Just an absolute clown show. But the last funny thing that I want to show you today, just an absolute epitome of Trump derangement syndrome, is a Democrat posted on X a video of her rejecting a NASA internship, specifically because Donald Trump is the president right now. Watch. I mean, that's an insane level of Trump derangement, where you're willing to stifle and inhibit your own personal career growth simply because you're not a fan of whoever is president. You would think that anybody who has ambitions in working in government would inherently understand that there are going to be some times where the person who's in charge of the government you're not a huge fan of. But if you want to make a 20, 30-year career out of this, you're probably going to have to deal with half the time that you're working there, you're working for somebody that you don't like. So it's just another example of Democrat virtue signaling that any normal person would just find cringy and irrational. I don't care who the president is. I would never turn down opportunity because I disagree with the politics of the party that's in charge. But yet this will be the kind of person that demands that the American taxpayer pay for their student loan debts, even though they're the ones denying a great job and career opportunity. These are the people that would rather go broke in order to stand on their own moral pedestal and then demand that we foot the bill. That would be like if I had a business that sold things to the government and I decided that I wasn't going to sell to the government simply because Joe Biden was president. I mean, these people are panicked, they're skittish, they're deranged, and they're ruining their own lives as a result of it. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.